Today's top stories. The DOJ is ordered to summon CPP-NPA founder Joma to answer the petition to tag them as terrorists. Malacanang says the suggestion to change the Philippines' name into Maharlika is only an idea. NCRPO fires 5 Pasay policemen for intervening on behalf of a Chinese national accused of molestation. And the Optical Media Board recognizes the Philippine News Agency for its efforts against piracy.
Good day, I'm Pia Rosas Morato. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. A Manila court hearing the government's petition to declare CPP-NPA as terrorist organizations has dropped more than 600 names in the original petition. The DOJ has identified 8 individuals as current officers of the CPP-NPA on whom summons may be served, namely Sison, Cabanatan, George Madlos, Jaime Padilla, Francisco Fernandez, Cloefe Lagapon, Leonido Nabong, and Mirna Solarte. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara clarified that it is the CPP-NPA and not the individuals mentioned in the petition who are the subject of the action for judicial declaration as terrorists. Health officials continue to intensify efforts to curb a measles outbreak hitting parts of the country. These include spreading awareness on measles and the importance of vaccines. Rom Dulfo has a story.
The Philippine Society of Microbiology and Infectious Diseases says the measles that has spread in parts of the country is not a unique strain. It says the outbreak is the effect of fewer children receiving immunization, which means measles remains preventable. In Central Luzon, the health department has launched an intensified measles immunization campaign targeting children aged 6 to 59 months old. As of February 12, Central Luzon recorded 721 measles cases with 14 deaths. In Western Visayas, the DOH tries to address the increasing cases of suspected measles cases in the region by reaching out to roughly 170,000 kids in grades 1 and 7 and 100,000 daycare children who are all unimmunized. Health officials are discussing priority targets for vaccination drives. DepEd also directed its various divisions to support school-based immunization. In northern Mindanao, the DOH reported nearly 300 cases, including 2 deaths since January. The agency has not yet declared an outbreak because most of the cases have yet to be verified. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
The Philippine Embassy in the United States warned Filipinos in Haiti to stay safe as anti-government protests escalate. Demonstrators are demanding for the resignation of Haitian President Jovenel Moïse over allegations of corruption. The protests that erupted late last week caused disruptions in Port-au-Prince and other cities. The embassy advised Filipinos to stay indoors, prepare security plans, and avoid large gatherings of people. About 500 Filipinos are currently in Haiti. So far, all of them have been declared safe. Those who need assistance are urged to call the embassy's hotline. Malacanang hailed the late actress and singer Armida Sigyon Reyna for her contributions to the Filipino entertainment industry. The palace gave its condolences to the family of Sigyon Reyna, who died at the age of 88 on February 11. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelos says Sigyon Reyna's death was a great loss to the film industry. Sigyon Reyna is best known for protecting reforms in the industry, particularly artistic liberties and free expression. She was known as brave, principled, and an expert in her artistic field. She is also one of the country's celebrity icons who would later on act as chairman of the Movie Television Review and Classifications Board.
The Chinese embassy in Manila today turned over sets of donated equipment to state-run Philippine News Agency and Radyo Pilipinas. The donation ceremony was led by Chinese Ambassador Xiao Jinhua and Communications Secretary Martin Andanar. In the coming weeks, Andanar said another unveiling will take place in Malacanang. The official bared that China's latest donation to the country's state media would reach around 15 million pesos. China had previously donated about 140 million pesos worth of radio and broadcasting equipment to the government. Andanar, for his part, described Beijing's commitment to the Philippine government media as sincere. Apart from these donations, he said media workers have continuously received scholarships and training from the Chinese side.
Our relationship with the People's Republic of China has been raised to the highest possibilities of cooperation, particularly in the field of technologically advanced communication facilities. A new horizon of understanding is now open for our two countries to strengthen the universal values that we have traditionally held sacred. The direct people-to-people discourse through the facilities of media is one of the most vital instruments for world peace and progress.
The turnover ceremony held at the Philippine News Agency and Radio Pilipinas offices were attended by officials from the embassy and the PCOO. Among the donations were IT equipment such as the iMac Pro computers, camcorders, and teleprompters for the digitization of both agencies. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
4 policemen in Pasay are sacked for intervening in a case against a Chinese national. And the AFP urges candidates to report extortion activities of the New People's Army. More on these and other news around the metro from Benj Bondok.
NCRPO Chief Guillermo Elazar ordered the sacking of 5 Pasay City police officers, including their commander, for allegedly urging 3 victims to go for a settlement instead of filing charges against a Chinese national. The suspect Zhang Yang was apprehended after 3 victims complained that he molested them inside a horror house last February 7. Yang was charged with acts of lasciviousness, while the involved officers are under investigation. Meanwhile, the PNP is mulling whether to classify Quezon City as an area of concern this election season. This as police anticipate more acts of violence following the killing of congressional candidate Crisel Beltran. The PNP has named 701 election hotspots all over the country, including Manila, Mandaluyong, Caloocan, Pasay, and Malabon in Metro Manila. In other news, the AFP urges candidates to report members of the New People's Army who are extorting them in the form of permit-to-campaign fees. Candidates who willingly give money to the NPA will face charges for aiding enemies of the state. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Bondok.
Still to come, Malacanang stresses that the suggestion to change the Philippines' name into Maharlika is only an idea. The PMA Alumni Association warns candidates against campaigning during this year's PMA homecoming. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Ito ang Duterte on Duty. Ulat sa ginagawa ng Presidente.
January 31, Huwebes, Malacanang. Hiwalay na nag-courtesy call kay Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte ang mga ambasador mula sa Russia at Israel. February 6, Miyerkules, Malacanang. Tinalakay ng Pangulo at ng kanyang gabinete ang ilang may init na issue sa bansa sa ginanap na 34th Cabinet Meeting. Nakipagpulong din siya sa mga rice industry stakeholders sa President's Hall sa Malacanang. February 7, Huwebes, Malacanang. Pinanumpa ng Pangulo ang nasa 80 bagong talagang government officials. Pinanumpa rin niya ang bagong Chief of Presidential Protocol at Presidential Assistant on Foreign Affairs na si Robert Eric Borge. Ako po si Secretary Martin Andanar at ito ang Duterte on Duty. Abangan sa susunod na linggo ang mga gagawin ng Pangulo.
Malacanang has dismissed moves to change the name of the Philippines into Maharlika, saying the move itself is only an idea. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo says, while President Rodrigo Duterte favors the idea, there are no concrete moves to push through with it. The name change was a previous suggestion of former President Ferdinand Marcos. Panelo says the president likes the name Maharlika because of its Malay roots and closer relation to the country's national identity. He says the president welcomes any moves in Congress to adopt the name change, although such will undergo a difficult process. The proposed 2019 national budget may likely be signed into law by President Rodrigo Duterte by April. Budget Secretary Benjamin Diokno made the statement following the ratification of the budget by Congress last Friday. Diokno says they have yet to receive the ratified bicameral conference report, which is likely to reach the office of the president by March 1. Lawmakers previously hoped to see the proposed budget signed by this week. The 6 halal certifiers seeking accreditation are expected to pass standards as they become involved in local industries. This as the Philippine Accreditation Bureau has set stricter qualifications for halal certifiers this 2019. Marilu Ampuan, chairperson of the Philippine Halal Trade and Tourism Expo, says the Department of Trade and Industry has given the certifiers authority to certify products that are halal or processed according to Muslim religious standards. In Davao City, about 10 entities are processing the renewal of their certifications as halal hotels and establishments. Davao City is positioning itself as a halal-friendly city which will tap the Muslim travel market for tourism. Baguio City Police will undergo training on how to serve as Special Board of Election Inspectors. COMELEC says PNP personnel will be tapped to serve as BEIs if they face a lack of volunteer teachers on Election Day. Under the Election Service Reform Act, COMELEC can deputize policemen in case there's a shortage of public school teachers or for security reasons. Meantime, COMELEC Regional Director Julius Torres says they have yet to come up with a list of election hotspots in the Cordillera region. Police Regional Director Rolando Nana assures that they have enough personnel on full alert to secure the region. Victims of human trafficking are rescued in Zamboanga City. Meanwhile, a drug peddler dies in a police operation in Bulacan. More on this and other stories from the provinces from Janice Cabe.
In Zamboanga City, 48 human trafficking victims are rescued by the Philippine Coast Guard. The victims were reportedly on their way to Sabah aboard a wooden-hulled vessel. Authorities intercepted their vessel as it left a private wharf in Barangay Baliwasan. They have been taken into custody by the DSWD. In Bulacan, a drug peddler was killed during an intensified anti-drug operations. 11 plastic sachets of shabu, 1 caliber .38 revolver, buy-bust money, and a tricycle was yielded from the suspect identified as Gilbert Cristobal. 7 other drug suspects were arrested in separate sting operations in Angat, San Miguel, Barilao, Bustos, and Baliwag. 21 pieces of transparent plastic sachets of shabu and buy-bust money were confiscated. In Baguio City, the PNA Alumni Association appealed to candidates, particularly its adopted members, not to use the alumni homecoming on Saturday for their political agenda. It says all signage posted around Fort del Pilar in Baguio City will be monitored, as the homecoming is a sacred tradition for all PMA alumni to reunite and not an event for campaigning. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cabe.
Up next, the Optical Media Board recognizes the Philippine News Agency for its efforts against piracy. The Philippine volleyball team predicts it will win medals in the upcoming 30th Southeast Asian Games. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders. The Philippine News Agency was recognized by the Optical Media Board for its contribution to the anti-piracy and intellectual property protection drive. PNA receives the Banhai Award from the OMB for helping disseminate its messages and advocacies. Senior news editor Rom Dulfo cites the need for effective collaboration of government, private sector, and all other organizations to address global piracy. He also points out the role of the news media in combating piracy and violation of intellectual property rights. Meanwhile, OMB Chairman and CEO Anselmo Adriano says, raising awareness on intellectual property and against piracy shall be continuous with the help of media partners like PNA. Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles also graced the event and was also recognized for his efforts to help OMB. Venezuelan Foreign Minister Jorge Arreaza says the government led by President Nicolas Maduro is ready to sit down with the opposition without preconditions. Venezuela has been in political tension since January 23, when National Assembly President Juan Guaido declared himself interim president and was recognized by the United States and some other countries. Arreaza says President Maduro is also ready to seek a solution to the political crisis. In sports, the Philippine volleyball team is confident that it will win medals in the 30th Southeast Asian Games. Peter Caico, who is the president of Larong Volleyball sa Pilipinas Incorporated, says he is confident it will be a podium finish for the men and women's team. He says his optimism is based on the number of players who joined the tryouts, which were conducted by national coaches Shaq De Los Santos and Dante Alinsunurin. Aside from indoor volleyball, the Philippines will also field teams in the beach volleyball event. As host country, the Philippines is allowed to field 2 teams in the men's and women's divisions. Possible venues are the Smart Araneta Center, Phil Sports Arena in Pasay City, and the Alonte Sports Center in Laguna. The beach volleyball competition will be held at the SBMA Tennis Center in Olongapo City. The Armed Forces of the Philippines fully supports the reinstatement of ROTC, or mandatory military training in high schools. It says ROTC will help the youth to become better citizens. Joyce Kudis has the story.
The cliché that the youth is the hope of the country rings truer today as lawmakers approved on second reading the proposed reinstatement of mandatory ROTC. AFP Public Affairs Chief Noel de Toyata says mandatory ROTC will ensure that the youth are shaped with a deep sense of patriotism and love for country. It will also help instill the duty of protecting the nation to the youth and help the AFP in further strengthening its reserve force in external defense and disaster response. Under House Bill 8961, ROTC training would apply to all students in grades 11 and 12 in all senior high schools and shall be a requirement for graduation. The proposed measure strictly prohibits the use of ROTC training for political objective and for teaching and instilling a particular political ideology on students. It also bans hazing and other forms of physical or mental abuse. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Joyce Kudis.
Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Let's take another look at today's top stories.
The DOJ is ordered to summon CPP-NPA founder Joma to answer the petition to tag them as terrorists. Malacanang says the suggestion to change the Philippines' name into Maharlika is only an idea. NCRPO fires 5 Pasay policemen for intervening on behalf of a Chinese national accused of molestation. And the Optical Media Board recognizes the Philippine News Agency for its efforts against piracy.
Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. And that's your daily dose of the latest news and information that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I'm Pia Rosas Morato. Good day.